So we're all reflections of one another. We're all teachers of one another. I always say this. And if you look at it that way, it's like, oh, well, maybe I should start taking accountability for my life. Because I'm the only one that can change my life. Nobody else can do that for me.
That's so true. Very empowering to look at it from that lens. Hi, friends. This is Maria Mays, founder of Take 5, well-being coach and teacher, and you're listening to Chakras and Chardonnay, a well-being podcast for wine lovers, where we explore insights from ancient wisdom teachings to empower our health, to liberate ourselves from anxiety, and to more mindfully enjoy our wine and everything else we consume. Did I mention we have fun exploring different wines? We do that too. And I am so, so grateful that you are here. Hey, Chakras and Chardonnay listeners. It's good to be back with you today. This episode I recorded last year around this time, but it just hadn't felt right to release it until now. In fact, I think it's a perfect time. It's election week in the US. In fact, this will be released a day or two after the election. And certainly we'll all need a lot of light then, regardless of which way it ends up turning out. But I encourage you, as you listen to this, to really keep an open mind. The topic is light language, and my guest Brigitte is going to explain that to us as well as to give us a little demonstration. And so I just want you to notice how it makes you feel. Notice if you get uncomfortable, notice if you feel yourself judging, and just get curious about that. And like anything on any episode, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. My goal with this podcast is always to just expose you to different healing modalities, different wisdoms, and allow you then to have the discernment to say, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm curious. I want to learn more. So, or no, that sounds really weird. When I first heard light language being spoken, it was a little jarring. It reminded me of the first time I heard my mother-in-law speak in tongues. That was jarring as well. And background here, I was raised in a traditional Catholic household, and so a little bit more conservative, if you will, in terms of practices. It's really interesting listening to it back. So the first time, I'm just going to share, I listened to the demonstration several times. One of the times I listened to it, I got the giggles. I just got tons of laughter. Another time I listened to it, I felt really calm. And another time I felt really clear. So again, enjoy, notice how it works for you. And as always, thanks for listening. Sending tons of light your way. Welcome back, Chakras and Chardonnay listeners. I'm so grateful to be back with you, and I'm really excited to share my guest today. Brigitte Visser is with me, and she's going to share a little bit about herself, her journey, and then she's got a well-being tip for us. So thank you so much, Brigitte, for joining me today.
Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm across the pond, as you know.
Yes.
So, yeah. So a short introduction. I always say to people, I am a soul empowerment coach. I am a divine channel. So I'm like a bike messenger between the here and there. I channel many of the ascended masters, the archangels, the galactic beings, all of them.
Okay.
And it's really to aid humanity with the messages that they convey. And then I'm a light language healer. And people always ask me, what's a light language healer? What does that mean? And then I tell them, well, it's something, it's not like Reiki or any other practice. This is really about on a conscious level, your mind is not going to comprehend it because it's gobbledygook. It's like minion language. But your soul understands it just beautifully. And that's what it's all about. It's about healing, it's healing the mind, and making sure that you empower yourself back to the grit of who you are, because many people walk around very soulless or very disempowered within the world, and they wonder why things are happening to them, rather than thinking, wait, why is this happening for me, rather than why is this happening to me?
Love that. So, can you also share? So, for some of our listeners, this might all be new, right? And so, let's take it down
Yep.
to a really basic level. As you described yourself as a channel or a conduit, can you expand on that to help someone who that's brand new to?
So being a channel, I convey many messages from the light beings. So this is not for me. Well, in the beginning, it was for me for my own self healing, but now it's really for humanity. So they talk a lot about fear. You know, what is fear? Besides it meaning false evidence appearing real, but fear is an illusion in the mind. So they talk about that. They talk about a return to a love for ourselves and each other, which is so important because people don't love themselves. Oh, and mind you, Maria, I hated myself. So I was, I was like a punch bag. Everything that happened to me, I was in the boxing ring and continuously punching myself and hurting myself because I just didn't know. But then again, any challenge that's presented to you, any experience that is presented to you, just take it as an opportunity for growth. Be thankful for the experiences and be thankful for the characters within your life. Because without them, you wouldn't be able to grow. So we're all reflections of one another. We're all teachers of one another. I always say this. And if you look at it that way, it's like, oh, well, maybe I should start taking accountability for my life. Because I'm the only one that can change my life. Nobody else can do that for me.
That's so true. Very empowering to look at it from that lens, right? That
Mm.
once we take off the hats that we've maybe been conditioned to wear for a long
Yes.
time of a victim or in some of the other hats that we wear and step
Yep.
into truly taking our power back. I love that. Curious how you help people step into more empowerment in their life through your work in the light language and in as a conduit, as a channel. How do you help people?
I basically tell them I tell them like it is. That's one thing. But um, first of all, regardless of what people go through, regardless of the adversity we may go through, we've asked for this. Yeah, maybe when we were kids, we didn't ask for it, but we did sign our soul contract up there. But I always say to people, the first step is taking responsibility for your life because nothing happens by magic. You have to get off that couch and move and take that first step to healing. And I think it's already a big step for people if they go and see whatever agrees with their soul. So it could be healer, could be counselor, could be anything. That's already a big step because you're owning that. You're accepting what you've gone through and you want to change because you want to have a better life.
I love
And rather than remaining in that same stagnant energy, in that victimhood. So
that.
that's the first thing.
I love that.
And for me, in my case, when I help people, because counselors do it differently, but in my case, it's really about understanding what they're going through, how I can help them, especially with light language. I mean, light language is like, boom, it's like a shortcut to healing. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I had it done to me when I was going through stuff, and even when I had physical ailments, because, like I said, I used to beat myself up or I used to stress myself out with work or any little thing. And, but especially with work. And that would just help me. It would get my back straightened out. I had issues with my knee at the time. Boom, straightened it out. And I thought, oh my God, this is brilliant. And then I was told a long time ago, but you can speak light language. And I'm like, no, I can't. No, 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 no way. No way. Until I finally did it one day because I asked a friend of mine to push me off that cliff because I was just ready. And so she did a 1 day workshop with me. She's an amazing light language healer here in the UK. And that's how I learned it. And even when I give light language healing to other people, it also helps me. So I've had people that have had fear of things, whether that was one had a fear of going into hospital, others had anxiety issues or could not let go of past relationships because we have these attachments and sometimes it's hard to let go. Why is this? Why? And it's just understanding what you need to heal, because at the end of the day, Maria, I'm just a tool in the toolbox. They still have to do the work. It's not like I'm a fairy godmother and say, hey, you're okay now, it's all gonna be okay. Yeah, you have
Right.
to do the work.
Right. So this is a tool that people can leverage to
Yes.
really open probably a little bit more, right? To create some more openness and some awareness, and then
Yeah.
I'm sure leverage some practices with you too. So I'd love to just circle back to the concept of a soul contract. So for someone who's
Yeah.
listening, where again, this is just all new stuff, this is far out, how do you describe that? Can you just take us through it for any listener who
Yeah.
that might be new?
In layman terms, yes.
Yeah.
So prior to incarnating on this earth plane, we decide with the council and the people that we want to, the souls that we want to incarnate with. Um, yeah, up there, we kind of choose our parents. We decide what lessons we want to learn, the experiences, because Earth's like a school of life, right? So say, yeah, I can do this. I'll do this. I will go through this trauma. I'll be fine. I was a sadomasochist, okay? Because I tick every single box and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. It's going to be easy. Well, forget that, because what happens when we're born, right? We're born cold turkey. We come out of the warmth of the womb and whoosh, it's like an Arctic blast hits us and we're like, ah, and it's like we have a brain freeze and we can't remember who we are. We grow up and it's like, oh, yeah, well, you know what? I'm on this planet. I'm here to make money. I'm here to pay my rent, pay the bills. And we've forgotten completely why we're here. And so we have to figure it out through our experiences to remember who we are and to return to that love for ourselves and just be true to who we are. It doesn't matter what people think of you. It matters what you think of yourself and how you feel about yourself. I don't care if people say things to you, oh, well, you can't do this and you cannot do this, do that, because that's that feat of duality. Yeah, and it's like Earth is like this jungle, and
Yeah, it
we
is.
forget. Yeah, it is. It really, really is. And some people stay lost, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. And others finally realize, wait, hang on, there's more to life. There is more to life than just this existing in the grid, because many people don't really live their lives. They are allowing themselves to be lived. And many of their dreams and their passion and the things they want to do stay within their minds. That's it. It's like a dream.
Yeah, I
And
love
I
that.
was, yeah.
So resonant. I mean, so resonant in that, all week this week as it's only Tuesday, but it feels like it's been a long week already.
Mm,
But yesterday in some classes I was teaching in person, I had about four different groups coming through, and I had on the board one of my favorite Rumi quotes, which is, I'm not this hair, I'm not this skin, I'm the soul that lives within. And so
yes.
you just spoke to all of that, and that empowerment of looking at it from the lens of, okay, if I signed up for this, then I have the power to continue to make choices with
Yes.
this, right? So I love that.
Absolutely. And do you know, on that quote from Rumi, you're right. I always say this to people. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you're from. The light within each of us is the same. Our physical appearance may look different, but there's no difference between any of us. And all this divide with borders and different nationalities, I always say this has been created by design, because at the end of the day, technically speaking, we're all brothers and sisters of the light, if you want to call it that.
Mhm. I love that. So what would you say to someone who's listening to this episode and in kind of maybe a dark place, and they don't see their own light. And maybe they don't see this world as having any light. Maybe they're just in a really dark place within their
Yeah.
own journey. How do they step in and get started on this path? What do you recommend? What's one tip or teaching you could throw out there today where they could put into action today?
There is I love I love meditations,
Mm.
and people may think, yeah, but no, I don't have time for this. Yeah, you do. 20 minutes to start off, 20 minutes in the morning, or to start your day off, right? 20 minutes in the morning, and then when you retire to bed. And there is one person that I will always advise to people to start listening to, and that is David G.
Oh, sure, David G.
Yeah. And he has one that is called, oh, what is it? Own your impact.
Own your impact. Yeah. So
Own
David
your
G, if
impact.
he's new, if that's a new name for the listeners, he's a meditation teacher that's been around
Yeah,
for
on
some
YouTube.
time,
And
very
he,
renowned. So,
yeah, very renowned. And he's got meditations on fear, on anxiety, how to step into your own power. Very simple, very simple techniques. All you need to do is plug in the earphones and just listen to it.
listen.
That is one thing. I mean, there's so many other little tips. Whatever works for people. For some, it's the gym. For some, it's running. For others, it's just grounding with Mother Earth, putting their feet in the sand or in the earth, or
Mhm.
just gardening. It doesn't matter. It is really what works for you. But the main thing for those that are suffering and are really stuck in a rut within their traumatic experiences, to get out of that headspace, to get moving. First of all, let me tell you, whoever is stuck in this, I love you.
Mm.
And even though you may not feel loved, they are, I mean, I love you. And to get better, you really need to take that first step. And again, that comes back to that ownership, to that accountability. Do I want to change my life? All these small little moments led up to this moment that you're now really stuck in this experience. But look at it from a different perspective. You've chosen this challenge because you want to evolve, you want to grow, your soul longs to grow. It doesn't want to remain as is because you feel so at a dis-ease within yourself. Your soul is not aligned with your body. You can't go on like this, and you feel that within yourself. So either reach out to someone close to you, and then commence on that journey. What's right for me? What kind of healing would I like to undertake? What agrees with my soul? And honestly, it doesn't matter. But I always say to people, and I've seen this in my life, I applaud people that go through that journey, through the dark night of soul, as I call it, and come out better the other side. It's not that boom, it's better the next day, because it takes time. But when you come out the other side, trust me, you look back and you understand why you've been through this,
Mm.
and you just smile. And as I said before, whatever you go through, whoever the characters are in your life, just as Saint Germain always says, he says, take a deep bow in gratitude and thank them for having been part of your life, part of your journey, because without them, you wouldn't be who you are today after having alchemized and healed from these traumatic experiences.
I love that. And so, just the lens of, I'm just going to read, I wrote down a quote of yours, and that is, you've chosen this challenge because your soul wants to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So if just that little phrase can lead you in stepping out of the current lens you have on maybe a challenge that you're going through in life, to
Yeah.
look at, this is something that and it's hard, especially when it's very traumatic or when there's
Yes.
loss, let's say.
Yeah.
So how do we, someone who's maybe in the thick of it and maybe is in the thick of grieving or in a deep place with that, if they can't wrap their brain around, I chose this, for my soul's growth, how do you help them put on a new pair of glasses?
Oh, yes. I cannot change. I'm not here. Okay. I'm not here to change anyone's mind. I'm merely plant that seed, that food for thought seed, as I put it. Not everyone agrees with what I do, and I'm okay with that. Everyone is on their own journey. So if someone tells me, no, this is not right for me, that's okay too. Then they're not ready yet. They're just not ready yet. And sometimes, and I know this because trust me, Maria, I've been through the ringer. I mean, just in a very, very short nutshell. I mean, I was abused as a child by a friend of the family. My dad passed away when I was 14. I was young when I started starving myself because I didn't eat my lunches at school. I was afraid of guys, teenage boys when I went to school because of what happened in my childhood. I walked around like Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, because I wanted to be invisible. That it was just terrible. My my mom put me on a modeling course to try crick up my confidence. Well, that didn't work. That didn't work. That just didn't work. I was walking around like, with the weight on the world on my shoulders, like Atlas. So, and then I was picked out by a hairdresser who chopped off my long hair into a pixie cut for a hair show. And I felt horrible. I felt so ugly. You cannot imagine. But then when I continued in the modeling industry, I was assaulted in the modeling industry. I could never live of it. So that's why when I traveled the world, I was always bartending, hostessing, doing promo work. And I did do some modeling gigs, but often it wasn't paid, which was fine. I mean, it was a kettle market at the time. I had to learn. And you think to yourself, Brigitte, you had no confidence, and then you go into the modeling industry. What were you thinking? Well, I wasn't. I just wanted to be. I wanted to prove myself to the world. Like, you know what? I can be someone. Oh shit, that didn't really happen. I mean, it was terrible, but you live and learn. Then I rolled into very much dysfunctional relationships because I chose that. They were all traumatic in different ways. Even when my stepdad passed away, I I fell into drugs for like 3 months and I nearly killed myself. And in 2009, when I came back from Holland after a very, I call it a beautiful, disastrous relationship. He's doing very well now, but at the time he was a drug addict, and he landed in bed with the Crips. And I'd never seen someone so badly on crack before. I mean, he was held for ransom. And I helped the police save him, and my mom took me out of Holland in the space of 3 days. I had them a call, had my life threatened. That if he ever were to find me, that I would be somewhere, he'd kill me. So I took a whole box of ibuprofens and just thought, you know what, I'm done. But all that did was give me a good night's sleep. And I woke up the next day. But that was a turning point for me because I had hit rock bottom, but I had to hit that myself. And that's when I went to see a counselor. Well, that didn't work for me because all the counselor said was, oh, you'll be fine. You're strong enough. Yeah, okay. So I had to figure out what worked for me. And that's how I rolled into Reiki. And people think, once you're a healer, oh, life is dandy. It's rosy. It's not, because we all go through things. We all go through challenges. The difference is, Maria, is that I understand my experiences, so I don't remain soiled within them forever and a day. It takes me a few days, and then it's like, okay, you know what? I need to switch my mindset. I need to change the energy, and I know exactly what to do. That is the difference.
I love that. I thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that whole background, because I think a lot of times people will look at someone like yourself doing all this healing work thinking, oh, they must have just had this little angelic life, right? Well, the reality is that typically if you're in this line of work, you've been through some stuff to help you get to where you're at today. So I appreciate you being really open about that, because I think it helps maybe the person out there who's thinking, well, I didn't choose this. Well, there's a hell of a lot of stuff you just shared that you didn't choose, right?
I didn't.
the choice that you consciously, right? But that
Yes.
underlying that prior choice, as you mentioned it with the soul contract, there was some choice there.
Absolutely.
Shared.
Absolutely. And the one thing I will say, I mean, for the longest time, I'd given my power away. I
Mm.
mean, people treated me like I was a doormat because I was a people pleaser, because I was so afraid to hurt everyone around me. Oh, guess who got hurt in the end? Me, because I was, punching myself continuously. And that had to stop. It had to stop. And I really had to learn that. And I had to learn to set boundaries.
You know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think a lot of us, based on, just the culture that we were born into, found
Yeah.
ourselves in the people pleasing, in the perfectionism, in the outward search for happiness versus turning it inward and really nurturing self and loving self. Yeah, I love that. Ah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all that. And I'd love to know, where can people find you so that they can learn more about your offerings and connect with you?
They can find me on my website, powersoulhealing.com.
Okay.
I also have a YouTube channel, Power Soul Healing, where you can find my interviews, but also my light language healing activations that I do. Yeah, I do like one every 2 weeks or one every week. It
Oh,
just depends. But I do that because if it helps people, that's great. All they need to do is just plug in their earphones and that's it. And
okay.
just listen to the encoding. And then I'm also on Instagram under Universal Light Warriors. And yep. And then my book is out on Amazon. And funnily enough, yeah, it's called Becoming Authentically Me, but it's starting to do really well, especially in the US.
Oh, great.
I'm not kidding you. Since the last month and a half, it's just, yeah, I think people are ready for new knowledge. And it's a little bit out there. Of course, I talk about my life and the trauma I've been through, but it's infused with the many channeled messages from the many masters and the archangels. And they always talk about life with a sense of humor.
Mm,
And I talk about the transformational shift that we find ourselves in that people don't always understand, because the earth is ascending, but we too need to ascend. So many old wounds are surfacing within people and they need to heal this. Oh, it's horrible. And people are becoming emotional, and they're riddled with anxiety, and it's like their ego is holding on so tight. Like, no, I don't want to change. I don't want to change. And it's a soul going, but yes, I really want to change. I need this change. I really need to feel comfy in my own skin. So
yeah, I love
it's
that. So it's called Becoming Authentically Me, the book.
yes.
Beautiful. And we'll have links to all those in the show notes. And I agree. I think it's 2023, I really feel is the year where it's time
Oof.
to stop outsourcing, right?
Yeah.
Our health. And it's time to really insource it and really take our power back. And I love
Yeah.
that that's what you help people do. So I've got one more question, and that is, what type of wine do you like to mindfully sip, if any, in between
Well,
all your busyness?
wait, before I answer that,
Yeah.
you're right. Everything's inward rather than outward. But the biggest pharmacy in the world resides within you.
Within,
Biggest
absolutely,
medicine cabinet resides within you. And
100%.
everything that we need, Mother Earth already provides. It's just we are so used to all these chemicals from the billion-dollar pharmacy industry
Yeah.
that we have totally forgotten.
Yeah, I love it. It really resonates a lot of the way you're describing the remembering, right? Because that's what Ayurveda looks to, and that's part of what I teach and mentor on. And so it's just coming back to that remembering that we're whole and remembering that we just need to get in tune with the rhythms of nature. And
Yep.
oftentimes we just need a guide like yourself to help us remember that, right? So I really
That's it.
appreciate
Yeah.
you You
I
helped.
didn't know you did Ayurveda.
Yeah.
This is interesting because my second book is about India, when the time that I was at the Art of Living Center.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I experienced Ayurveda, so I understand it. So that's amazing. I
Yeah,
applaud you for that. Beautiful.
beautiful. Well, tell me a little bit about what you like to mindfully taste, if anything.
If it's gonna be something, because I don't drink anymore, I don't, but it would have to be a very, very light rosé.
Okay.
That I could have, a very light rosé.
I love that. And what helped you step into or maybe share some of the benefits of choosing not to drink anymore?
Well, when I was younger, I drank like a fish, especially when I went out.
Mhm.
But I just, I had to start taking care of myself. And especially now, I meditate in the morning and I meditate at night. I didn't, well, it's been many years since I last drank a drop. I
Okay.
am a total tea nut. I love my tea, my herbal
Yeah.
tea. So yeah, but the one thing I do drink from time to time, only when I'm on holiday, and it's been many, many years, is a pina colada. I love that because
Okay.
it's very light. But other than that, yeah, I used to drink rosé, but only when it was really light.
It's really light. Beautiful. Well, I love that you're stepping into your own power with honoring, what feels good and doesn't feel good for the body.
Well, as long as we do things in moderation. But when it comes to smoking or vaping or all that stuff, oh, that is something I always say to people, why do you do that to yourself? What are you running away from? What emotions are you whack-a-moling back into the jars that you
Yeah,
do not want to face?
for sure. So part of the mindful tasting process, the Take Five mindful tasting process, is first arriving, similar to what you did, asking us to take some deep breaths, right? To
Yeah,
become fully present with that which we're about to consume. And then asking ourselves, what's my intention behind this sip? Because if the
yeah,
intention is to numb, right, which it was for many a year in my life, or if the
yeah.
intention is to tune out, um, just by asking that question, we might then choose a different choice and say, you know what, I'm not going to have this sip because it's not to celebrate or truly explore flavors, it's to numb. So I think that's awesome um, that you mentioned that. Any other thing you want to share in terms of the light language that just really intrigues me? So if you want to share anything and feel called to share anything on that, I'd love
Mhm.
to be here to absorb it.
Do you want to hear it? Do you want a short demo?
Yeah,
Like a
I'd
two
love
minute
it.
demo? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do a demo. I think especially because part of what we're trying to do with Chakras and Chardonnay is really just serve these different teachings up, right? In a real practical way where people can get exposed to them and then see, oh, maybe
Yeah.
that's something that could help me on my journey. So I'd love a demo.
So, what shall we focus on? Anxiety, fear, just getting more clarity? What do you think? What would be good?
Um, let's do clarity. That sounds good.
Yeah. So, what I'm going to ask you as well and
Mhm.
the listeners is just to close your eyes and just relax and take a very deep breath in all the way from your root chakra to your crown chakra, and then hold it and gently breathe out. And just take another very deep breath in, hold it, and gently breathe out. And just feel very, very relaxed. Now I'm going to bring through the light codes for clarity. And all you need to do is just listen and just absorb it. So this is for clarity. Ko ini ya te ka isi ama hui te si ini ka la lu ini ki te isi a haisi a hui mini a ka atakiti a maluki iti ka yumikiti a a. These are the very ancient American or Native Americans that are coming through. I call them the Star Walker people. So ki ili ka mahani ki su ki la hatakatai miki di ini miki tasa isui miki a usinia makatui miki ti ikiti yamakatasa si yamalalalu. Kushini maha ka nikitia malasa kui mini ka asikatui mahati kiti. Ku'iya mahahaha, what they're saying, just allow for that light to flow through so that it dissipates the heaviness all the way from the crown chakra and just allow it to flow through your body and out through your feet and into Mother Earth. Kushini kiniala kaya ayumahai siniya makutu yimisia hui nikiti. Ka'ai niya mahu kisilia yumikiti amahai nikiti mama tikata puinia Puinia suinia ku isia la 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 muyawa ki isia ni kita u isia maka tu sia maha ku ini tu su ki apli kiti mala ku kini apa ataku and they gently bow back and they merely bow in gratitude and say thank you. And whenever you're ready, just take a very deep breath and open your eyes.
Thank you, Brigitte. That was pretty powerful. So as listeners are absorbing that right now, I encourage listeners to just notice how you feel. Notice if anything shifted. Okay? I can tell you, I feel that energetic shift for sure on this end. So.
Yeah, it's sometimes very powerful. I'm always very humbled that I can do this kind of work.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that and giving us a full demonstration. Thank you for sharing your light with all the Chakras and Chardonnay listeners today. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I will say this though, I don't have any labels slapped to my mind really anymore. No fear, no shame, because that's what often, how do I put it? We shy away from ourselves. So always just speak your truth with love and be yourself. It's one thing I always say to people, be yourself, not who the world wants you to be. So important.
I love that. Perfect words to end with. Be yourself and not who the world wants you to be. Thank you for being yourself, Brigitte. You brought a lot of light today.
Thank you.
Hey, friends. Thanks again for listening to the show. If you're not following it yet, please do. It'll really help it get heard by more people. And if something really hit for you, take the time to leave a review. Thanks and cheers, and here's to keeping it mindful.